Thanks for joining us here on the Misfit Happy Hour. I am your host today, Ronchero. I'm joined by Ajay Malik. Jay, am I saying your last name correctly?
You are. That's perfect, Ron.
Awesome, because I am a gringo and I butcher last names often. I'm good at that.
Not a problem. You hit that on the head.
So Ajay, I know you by Jay. Do you prefer to be called Ajay or Jay?
Jay is good.
Jay is good?
I make life easy.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, I noticed Lucci calls you AJ. So do you prefer, which one do you prefer?
See that? So I'm half Dutch, half Dutch, Polish, half Indian. So all of my Indian friends, Anand, right? They call me Ajay or, AJ. And then I'll just go by Jay normally, like to the
if I call you
general public.
If I call you the Jay, is that like the white
guy? That would be like a supreme version, I would say. Yeah, no doubt.
Good enough. So Jay, you have your recent addition to the TradeSpace office and the Sang Lucci team, and you and I spoke probably about, was it 3 months or so ago when you first kind of came around? Is that approximately the timeline, or maybe you can...
for sure. So yeah, around 3 months ago, October, November, I signed up for your TTP course. This was all in anticipation of coming down here to San Juan,
Gotcha.
And potentially participating in TradeSpace. But at that time, I didn't really know a lot about TradeSpace other than what they posted online, from the website. I knew a little bit about Anand, Sang Lucci, just based on some again social media and stuff like that.
Yep.
And then I took your course. I was pretty impressed by your course, and not just saying that. I still use some of the techniques you taught in there. Started participating in your room, got to know you guys, the crew in the TTP room, and just kind of went from there. And then one thing led to another, came down to the space, kind of, worked really well with the people here, the traders here. And Lucci invited me to participate in the Twitch, beginning of the year, end of last year, beginning of the year. And we've just been kind of, doing that, playing that game and refining our approach, and the Twitch is getting better and better and better, I would say. And so I think we're again like in the early innings of all of this. So yeah, I'm pretty excited to see like how far we can go.
Awesome. So 20 feet at a time. So if
sure.
Matt, when you get a chance, if you don't mind putting in, obviously I'm sure you will in the YouTube video, the link for the Twitch, we can catch you guys on Twitch most days, right? That's kind of been an ongoing thing since the beginning of the year, where you guys will get on live. And my takeaway from it is that you're kind of just doing a whip around in the morning before the market starts trading, right?
For sure. Yeah. So we try to get on there about an hour before the opening bell, sometimes a little later, sometimes a little earlier, and then basically go until, Lucci kind of feels like it. There's some days when he thinks there aren't as many opportunities, we cut it off short. There are other days when you might see him go for, over 2 hours. Okay. But yeah, I like to just do like the pre-market prep, kind of see where we are, where things stand, what looks interesting, and just give a quick rundown, just so we have kind of a baseline of data to go from.
Okay.
Yep, in terms of idea generation.
So before we start going down that road, because I want to hear more about, and I'm sure other people do, about what it's like. We've heard from Matt and his, experiences and what it's been like for him. You're a more seasoned trader. So why don't you start with telling me what your background is in trading and how you got here? Really, the only thing I know about some of your background is you went to UVA. So I know that you're somewhat intelligent. I've got a handful of friends that went to UVA. All are good guys, and they presumably don't let morons in there. So I'm waiting to be dazzled by some of the stuff you have to say.
No, for sure. So I've really, like a lot of people, and you've heard this, a lot. We've all heard this on many podcasts. I've been really interested in the stock market for a long time, right? Mm-hmm. But many of us didn't really know how to approach it in a professional kind of way. I'd say the first time I really started to like take it really seriously, though, was when I was so post UVA, after working in oil and gas, then I worked in casinos, and then finally real estate. I was getting my MBA at University of California, the Riverside campus. I was also working down there on some real estate projects, and I took some finance classes there, obviously, and really got involved in, some pretty specific like strategic approaches to trading. So I started dabbling in trading really about, 12 years ago. I did that for a while. I didn't have much early success. I mean, I had some, but not much. I was still pretty much your Warren Buffett student of value investing, right? Like most people are, right? So
Okay, sure.
I was buying Apple. I was buying, a lot of the big tech back then. I was just buying to hold, and I was buying more on future value of the company, and just straight up basically a student of Warren Buffett. But then I would say a little bit before the pandemic, 2019, I kind of got interested in it again and just started like trying to find educational programs, really. And there aren't really that many out there, right? Like the YouTube stars are a dime a dozen, but in terms of some structured education, there really aren't that many out there. So eventually I made my way to SMB Capital. And SMB Capital has a pretty intensive program for equities, for options, now for futures. And I just started going through those programs one at a time. They have like a kind of like a beginning foundation level. Then there's a program called like the Winning Trader. Then there's like an options program. So I would just take one program a year and kind of work on my game. In the beginning, I was, trading. I was kind of swing trading in my like retirement accounts, but I was also learning how to day trade using in the beginning, really just like the DOS simulator. So I did that for a while for maybe the first like 18 months, but I really kind of enjoyed it. I've always enjoyed, games of chance, game theory. Obviously I played a lot of poker, over the last 10, 15 years, like you hear from a lot of traders. So I just really enjoyed it. And, one of the things was that really appealed to me was really just the intellectual challenge every day. Like I like being able to get up every day, stay engaged with the market, stay engaged with what's happening in the world, and try to like put the pieces of the puzzle together and create a thesis, kind of for the day, or, for the short term, or whichever time frame you're looking at. But all of those facets of the game, they really appeal to me. So I stuck with the SMB program. I was really impressed with Bella Fury and Spencer, who are the two partners who run the show over there. And I would say that pretty much all of my game, I'm purely a student of Steve Spencer, right? Like even on the weekends to this day, I attend the weekly review, right? Like these guys are working 24/7, and that was another thing really inspiring, on their behalf. Like on the weekend they're meeting with us, right? So it's like, well, if these guys can take time to work on the weekends and work on their game at their level, so can I. So that's where it all started. I eventually became a moderator of the student section of SMB. I've seen a lot of students come and go, but at the end of the day, you really have to have a passion for it. And it's cliche, but it can't really be about the money or about the P&L. Like you just have to enjoy the process, enjoy the challenge, and just enjoy just being part of it day in and day out. So
tell me a little bit about SMB Capital. And first of all, how you went there. So your background in, you said oil, gas, real estate, and what was the third one?
So at Virginia, I was a economics major.
Okay.
And then I got an MBA with a finance concentration.
At UC Riverside.
Okay. And so those are my terminal degree, terminal degree and undergraduate. But yeah, it's mainly just finance related.
Okay.
Pretty much finance related the whole time.
How long ago when did you start at SMB Capital, and are they ultimately a prop firm, or how are they set up? How do they get and retain people?
So I started studying everything they had online in around 2019, I would say.
19. Okay.
So, yeah. 2019. They are a prop firm. They've got about 50 traders. One of the cool things is, and one of the reasons I really like, Steve Spencer as a teacher and as a coach, is he's very raw. Like they have thousands and thousands of applicants every year to become an intern there, and they take a handful, maybe eight to 12 people per year out of the thousands of applicants. So it's pretty brutal in terms of their acceptance process. Even on the weekly meetings, that like they tell us like, hey, the firm had a tough week. Only like, the top 5 guys accounted for 90% of the P&L for the whole firm, Yeah. A couple of weeks back, he's like, Steve was telling us like, hey, like a lot of you guys aren't going to make it. You got to stick with it. You got to be intense about all of the tasks that we have to do every day to fulfill these requirements to be like what they define as like, you know, a real trader. And it's everything from game planning to report cards to statistics to like a market recap. And, you know, and then he'll tell us like, hey, we had 2 of the top 20 traders quit, you know, in the last couple of weeks. And part of the reason was we saw that change in market regime. A lot of people struggled in 2022. And he's like, yeah, those guys quit. They couldn't kind of, you know, handle it. They'd been there for 5+ years, but he's like, you know what? He's like, at the root of it, they really just stopped doing those daily tasks that got them there to begin with. And that's really what it's all about. Like trading is always a game of attrition, and it's always trying to weed you out mentally and physically, financially, you know, all of the above. So if you're not on top of your game every day and sticking with it and sticking with the process that kind of got you there, you're at risk for falling off. And that's kind of what happens. So long story short, it's 10. I would say they'd like to say like the top 10 traders account for a huge majority of the P&L, but they've got about 50 traders on the desk, and they also have a relationship with Kirshner Group out of Texas. So there's a little bit of a hybrid there, but yeah.
Okay. So what is it? And I'm curious. The more I keep hearing about prop firms, it's never really been a draw for me, but I'm really curious to hear about it, since now you're the second person in recent memory who has either come from prop desk training and or other traders who have gone through a funding challenge. Does SMB do a similar process? And then the other question I was going to have for you is, it does sound like these guys are really intense and have a ton of process, et cetera, that's put into it. Let me ask you a question. How necessary do you feel like they're embracing their entire processes and living it day to day? Because over the years, what I've found is I have my own process, but I don't do things like reflect on the day. What's your plan? Like a lot of that stuff to me it looks, feels, and seems like busy work for somebody who doesn't know what to do with idle time. Am I making that too simple?
No, I love the question. I love the question, and I can relate to it, because I'm even getting to the point where I feel like I've got my own process, and I'm not necessarily doing every little thing that they would like, you know, a student, a trainee, an active trader to do.
Yep.
But I've got my own version of it, and I think that's what comes with experience and over time. So the first part of your question was access to capital, right?
Yep. Yep.
So you've got to start from the bottom. And they're giving you little to no risk in the beginning. And until you can statistically show some consistency at every level, you're not getting those risk bumps, right? Like you're getting a risk bump every time you meet a milestone, but you're starting from the bottom. And the way they look at it is, and it's very sensical, you've got to earn the right. Doesn't matter how good your statistics are over a period of time, you've got to earn the right slowly to be able to trade at those you know, big multiples of capital. Like their top trader, his name is Shark, and Swang. So Shark and Swang are the top guys. They're all over YouTube and all of that. I think the number was Shark made like $18 million last year, but he started as a student in around 2010. Right.
So 18 million personally, or 18 million of the desk's money?
I believe it's 18 million in total gain, and then there's a split. They have a split. I don't know what his personal split is, but let's just say it would be 50-50.
Okay.
It might be different, I'm not sure, but you know, just to have an approximation.
Sure.
So yeah.
When you say start at the bottom and they say little risk, define what that means. Like, does that mean they have X number of dollars for you to trade, but they won't let you go past a certain loss limit every day? Or what is correct? How does that work?
That's correct. So every day, if you're brand spanking new, you're an intern, you're basically trading in sim for a couple months. And then I believe it's between $250 and $500 they start you out with as a max loss per day. And if you exceed that loss, you're locked out for the whole day, you know, automatically.
Yep.
And that's where everybody starts. And that's only if you even get to the point of being able to graduate from the simulator to real live trading. So even that titration is one step removed from that initial pool of interns that they get.
How do they evaluate people when they're going through that process. So for example, if you have, let's say you're zeroing in on a trade, and let's say you're trading small size, but then all of a sudden you find, okay, that's the actual trigger I'm looking for. For me, I'll go throughout the day. Sometimes I'll have 3, 4, 5, 6 trades before I find exactly what it is that I'm looking for. Did they look at that and say, you're just churning, you're not on your game? Like, are they looking for guys that are perfect entry, perfect exit? Like, how do they gather those statistics and try and determine whether you're somebody who's worthy of making it or not?
Sure. No. So what they really want every trader to do over the the course of their initial period is try to create an edge of some sort. Some people are better at scalping. Some people are better at intraday trends. Some people are better at breakouts. So all of these different variations of trades that we talk about. So in the beginning, they want everyone to kind of sample everything, right? And that's why you're on the simulator. But then they want you to kind of filter down your ideas, try to get some statistics, either through back testing, forward testing, real-time trades, and just try to create some kind of framework to have an understanding of what each individual person is good at. And this kind of goes back to the previous question you asked, like, how important is it to follow these steps day in and day out? Like, for example, there's the 5 things, game plan, journaling, stats, market recap, doing a playbook, right? The SMB playbook, right? For me, I do all of those things in my own way, but in a very abbreviated way. But I will say this: if you're a brand spanking new trader, and you're new to the game and you don't have much experience, you do need to face that rigorous test every day, because it becomes a full-time job. Like, even though you're a trainee with an online, education program, I would literally I would say my first year, 2 years, I would spend 6 a.m. until probably 8 p.m. every single day for over a year doing all of those things, and then posting all of those things to our our student Discord, being accountable for all of those things. And then some of the traders and more senior people at SMB would find the people who were actually like doing it every day. And then we'd post our stats, we'd post everything, and those guys are the ones who were able to kind of move to the next level. So the first test is really the war of attrition in terms of how much can you take, like how much shit can you eat? Like, it's because it's a pain in the ass, right? Like, that it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, it can be difficult. So you said that they choose, what did you say? It was like around 12 traders a year?
It's around a dozen interns a year out of many thousands of applicants. And these are
that's what I was going to say.
College grads. Yeah.
How so somebody applies and says, hey, I want to be a trader. It's not because I see a lot of prop firms now, like on Twitter, it's all over the place. Hey, trade our money, take whatever challenge we have, right? And is it similar to that, or are they only looking at, hey, we're just trying to find people who we'd be comfortable with just even considering to train to be traders? Is that more their model than the come and trade our money?
Oh, for sure. They don't really want, at least in terms of an intern, they don't really want just your person who spontaneously thinks that they like trading and they want to be a trader. They want someone who's genuinely passionate about it. They have a certain profile too. Like, they like people who played college sports or were involved in something competitive when they were younger. Maybe it's video games. Like one of the star traders, Swang, he was a video game champ, right? So they look for people who have these like competitive edges, these competitive passions, these people who can kind of handle pressure. So they've got their whole psychological profile, because their main man over there in terms of psychology is Dr. Steenbarger. And he's pretty famous in this space. So he's, and it's cool because he talks to us once a week on the, on a Zoom call and meetings and things like that. So, the accessibility of these guys is pretty clean and pretty, it's there at every level, even from a student to a senior trader. So that's good to see. But yeah, they're definitely looking for a certain type of person for sure. And even after you get accepted, like on your paper application, they'll interview you obviously in person, one-on-one, and then they make a decision.
I see. I
100%.
see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it is a little different than a lot of these firms that are out there saying, hey, take our challenge, and if you can pass it according to our standards, we'll throw some money at you. This is a little bit different of a setup then, isn't it?
Oh, totally different, because even after you've kind of proven yourself, you still have to earn the right to trade the capital.
Gotcha. And I'm assuming that happens on is it a day by day evaluation, or is it how do they evaluate their guys going forward?
So here's what they tell the interns. They tell the interns that they're not expected to make any money in the first year.
Mm-hmm.
And I was kind of surprised when I heard that, because, come on, like that sounds kind of lenient, but what that really means is you may not be expected to make money in your first year, but you're definitely expected to be working your ass off and fulfilling all of the requirements and everything that they define as a trader needing to do on a day-to-day basis. And that's what you're really being evaluated on.
So when you say make no money, are interns or traders going in there and literally not making any money, like $0? Or how does somebody, if you're going to be in that world and you're really working your tail off, how does somebody support themselves in that type of environment?
So for those interns that do get selected, that small few, they do give them a monthly stipend for living expenses as part of the deal. Because again, these are recent college grads. There has to be like this minimum baseline level of support.
Yep.
But in terms of, a massive amount of capital at risk, they're not going to do that in the first year.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And these traders were you remote, or were you in a physical office?
So they have both, actually. So a lot of the guys do work directly in New York City, but they do have some remote traders as well.
Gotcha.
And everything I did was remotely from Washington, D.C. and Virginia.
I can't imagine what a monthly stipend would be as a college grad living in New York City, trying to make it as a trade. It's got to be a very difficult environment to be a part of.
I mean, it's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
It's definitely a lot of pressure, because a lot of people aren't from the New York area that end up going there. And then so you're dealing with the life change of having to be in New York City, the living expenses, and then, you want to say to them, well, you need to detach yourself emotionally from the P&L. Well, that's hard to do when you're living in New York City.
Yeah.
So it's exponentially harder. So that in itself is just a way that they put the pressure on right away. And then and a lot of people get weeded out. Like, I'll give you an example. This particular trader who I follow closely, I know for a fact that he's the last one left from his intern class 2 years ago, but now he's almost at the point where he has his own team, like he's a senior trader, right? So out of all of the people that started 2 years ago from that class, he's the only one left. That says something.
That does say something. The other question I have for you is, you're there from 2019 until when, and why did you decide that wasn't the right spot for you?
So I still contribute a little bit to the SMB students Discord, and I still attend the meetings on the weekend. But I kind of found St. Lucie, I have some ties to Puerto Rico. I was down in San Juan 12 years ago. I wanted a reason to come back down here. I really respected what Lucci was doing with the tape reading. I've been kind of learning from him, although, SMB has a tape reading program too, but tape reading is his specialty. So it just kind of became a good fit. And again, I was trading remotely. There was an opportunity to come down here to the office and trade with people and get to know people, because I mean, you know how it is, Ron, like it's really cool. You do the morning show for the trading, the post and stuff, because it's not fun sitting in a dark cave and cavern trading day in and day out for 12 hours a day. So those are some of the personal reasons for it too.
How was it on your mental psyche every day? And did you do any, like, Chris loves to talk about all of the mental aspects to trading, and I think a lot of people resonate with that, because a lot of what we do is things are things that are related to what you're talking about. The pressure to perform on a P&L basis, the pressure to support you and or your family financially, and to keep yourself in a state where you're not just rolling down every single day with your emotions whipping from one side to the other. That's awesome that you have the bathroom behind you there, and that dude's just going to stand there and put his mug on camera right now, by the way. That was awesome.
We are live from the TradeSpace trading floor.
Oh my God. All right. Matt, maybe tell people to use a different bathroom now. Good Lord. All right.
Yeah.
So sorry, back to that question. So what kind of, did they prepare you in that environment for any kind of, oh, really, he's going back? Did they provide you for any kind of mental training? Do they work on any of that stuff? Or is that something that you do on your own? And, you know, coming across a guy like Chris, is that something that's helped you in that regard as well?
No, for sure. So yeah, psychology is a big part of it. You know, at least once a week, you get Dr. Steenbarger talking to everybody. And then during the week, if you have a special request, he's very accessible. You can email him. You can set up a meeting. He's always there for the guys in the office.
So is he like the resident psychologist for the traders?
He really is. Yeah, he is.
Okay.
He's also in a, I don't know if professor is the right word, but he teaches courses at Columbia as well. Columbia Medical School in psychology. So he's always there. And he's talking, you know, to everybody who's part of the firm, from students all the way to the top traders, including Steve and Bellafury.
So what kind of process do they put you through any kind of process, or what kind of process did you go through? Because like you said, going in there and starting from scratch, and basically them saying, hey, you're not going to make money for the first year, that's got to carry some psychological pressure and triggers as well.
Well, it's tough. And like, you know, like we talked about, for the interns that come out of college, they give them a stipend and they do everything they can to at least make sure their baseline level of living is taken care of. But obviously when you're a, you know, when you're a young person, you know, moving to New York City and everything we talked about before, you can't help but think of the P&L. And I relate to it too, even being down here, because I've got some of the younger guys here in the office that I coach, and every day, you know, I've got them doing breathing exercises. I try to talk to them about not worrying about the P&L. They tell me they're not worrying about the P&L, but I know they are, you know, so it's like this game we play, round and round and round we go. But I think it's just continuous reinforcement of it. And I think once you start to see how much it affects your trading, it's easier for you to kind of like understand what it really means to divorce yourself from the P&L. Like that's what Bellafury is saying. Is like, you need to divorce yourself emotionally, you know, not just from the P&L, but from your wins and from your losses and from, you know, how you feel about a trade. Like you need to take a trade for every other reason except for all of those extraneous factors, right? And I think that's just another thing that comes over time. They just make sure they do everything that they can to provide you with those resources to get to that point.
I see.
Sure. Yeah.
Do you have in the past, or do you currently have a philosophy that you have kind of hooked yourself up to from a mental standpoint? You talked about breathing. Like what kind of breathing exercises do you do? Are you talking about like box breathing, or what's your view of that?
Sure. Yeah. So every day before the open, and this is actually advice I gave to a couple of people here in the office who are struggling with it, because they get really nervous during the open. And if I said that my blood pressure probably didn't jump a few points before the bell still, I would be lying, right? Like it's just, it's human nature. So we're constantly fighting human nature, but a lot of it is really Buddhist, kind of Buddhist ideals and Buddhist teachings and fundamentals. Like I'll just do a simple exercise of, and this was my advice to them, you know, like before the bell, 9:15, 9 o'clock, whatever fits into your schedule, just step away from the desk, reset your mind, reset your body, get away from the screens. And like, I like to just think about breathing in terms of like, you know, you're breathing in the good, you're exhaling the bad, or you're breathing in the light and I think I said this morning, you like breathe in the light and exhale the darkness. You know what I mean? Like whatever mantra, you just have to find a mantra that works for you, and just try to do it for 5 minutes continuously, and just try to calm yourself down, get to that point where, you know, your mind feels free. You don't feel all of that pressure from the things that are bothering you, all of the distractions on your screen, and just kind of, just try to do that. So if you can reset, you give yourself a fighting chance when that bell does ring and all of those emotions come flooding back. So
Okay.
they say it worked for them the last couple of days. So,
Well,
that's
good. I mean,
encouraging.
that's
It's
good.
encouraging, right?
Then
Yeah.
your coaching's working.
Yeah. So,
That's helpful. All
yeah.
right. So tell me how you personally put all this together. What's your trading style? What do you like to trade? Like recently, I've noticed you guys, you've more than once I've heard you looking for a short on Boeing. Like what kind of
Sure.
what kind of
Sure.
trades and setups are you looking for? Are you putting any of this the philosophy in combination with how you're actually trading, and are you using technicals? Are you using fundamentals? Like what's your approach to a trade?
Sure. So I'm definitely definitely a student of Steve Spencer and Bella Fury, but mainly Steve Spencer. So I've really tried to model a lot of my trading after him. And what's interesting is the way and I won't put a box around what he does, but like the way that I learned to intraday trade in terms of scalping is very similar, Ron, to how you like to use options to play a larger term trend. Like, for example, you've made some magnificent trades on Boeing and Netflix and Tesla, monster trades that I've watched you make, and they're extremely impressive. And I've noticed like you don't really take a big loss, because once you get in the driver's seat, something that you teach in your TTP program, driver's seat meaning like, the trade is green, you've got the luxury of moving the stop to break even, but you're not going to touch it because you're going to see how much energy really is in that trade and idea and how far it can go, because that's how you get those exponential wins. So that's what I like to do when I'm scalping. I'll use, like, for example, if we have like today we had Uber had a good earnings catalyst, Enphase had a good earnings catalyst.
Yeah, it did.
We've got a crazy Disney move here after hours right now. Just my screen's right in front of me. So I'll just, combine the catalyst with technical levels. Obviously stock selection is a huge part. I would say people ask me like, what's the key to trading? And it's like stock selection, because the stocks do all the work, but you have to know how to analyze all of that. And I know, Ron, that's a very, general answer, but if I had to pinpoint one
no,
thing.
I think it's a great, I think it's a
Yeah.
great point when you say stock
Yeah.
selection, and it's like, well, awesome. Like, how do you go about your stock selection? Like that also, I think, is a byproduct of the things that you've been taught for mechanics, in addition to the things that you've been taught for what your mental makeup is. Do you see it the same way, or is it just simply strictly mechanical for you?
Sure. So like, let's say, so we're in earnings season. So today, this morning, I would see a huge list, and I'm just looking at like the StockTwits earnings calendar, and I'll go through the entire list of the earnings that are out there. And out of those names, without even reading the earnings, I can tell you which names kind of behave well, which names people are interested in, which names are likely to have, a higher volume, RVOL, whichever metric you want to use. And once I pick those out, like today it was like Uber, Enphase, Under Armour, maybe, some of those kinds of names. But I have an idea of already what I'm looking for before I even look at that list. I already know which names are going to be in play, which names aren't. And out of those names, you have to dig into it. Like, I'll read what was the actual report. Was it a big miss, a small miss? Was it a double beat, a double miss? How was the guidance? Then, you see, okay, well, this was a surprise. This wasn't a surprise. This was in line. So I'll look at the strength and the texture of that catalyst, of that name that I already know to be a name that behaves well, generally speaking. And then I'll go to kind of like a third level, which is, well, now that we have a stock that we like, a catalyst that we like, that we feel is strong, then I'll go to the technicals, right? Like, I'll pull up FinViz. I'll look at the institutional ownership. I'll look at the daily time frame, weekly, monthly, and then I'll titrate it all the way down to, the smallest time frame. There's Norse there in the background.
Yeah. We got the horns.
We got the whole crew here. But then from there, I'm also looking at, okay, well, what's the VIX like? Are we in a environment where market plays are going to be kind of the rule of the day? Are we in an environment where there's going to be a decoupling of individual catalysts in the market, right?
Yep.
So I'll generally look for like the higher the VIX, the more likely I'd say maybe above 20, 25, that the market is really going to probably push a lot of the action, for the day. And these are just very broad definitions for the sake of discussion. But then I'll just basically try to create the story of what I think is going to happen. And then I'll wait for the open. I'll let the open kind of dictate the kind of day it's going to be. And I really won't take a trade for, at least 5-10 minutes into the open. And then I'll kind of make some decisions from there.
Are you trading just equity? Or are you trading options as well? What do you like to trade?
I'm trading both. To end last year, I was doing a lot more writing with options. But now, this beginning of this year, I've really just been focusing on intraday, mainly because I'm trying to be less predictive. Like I'm not as comfortable holding things overnight because it's just, like you say, I'm not Miss Cleo, right? Like I can't, I love that, by the way. I can't, I don't have that crystal ball. We're in a very different and unusual environment, I would say. I mean, yes, we've seen stuff like this in the past, but just from an acute standpoint, it's just really hard to predict, right? Like bearish news is getting bought up, bad earnings are getting bought, good earnings are getting sold. Like it's just a very, very interesting environment. So I'm just playing stuff intraday. I'm trying to play momentum. I'm trying to scalp, and where I'll scalp 50 to 75% and then try to just get a 25% runner. That's kind of the stuff that I'm doing. And those scalps are anywhere from 30 seconds to 5-10 minutes, and then I'll go for a runner, maybe for the whole day. That's the kind of stuff I'm looking for.
Okay. And in the office, in the TradeSpace office, you've mentioned that you're in there and you're helping coaching and mentoring some younger traders. What's it like for you being on the desk? Because what I like to do in the Trading the Post room is I will put you guys on live, and I'm looking at some of the things that you guys look at. I don't go chase flavors of the day unless the flavor of the day shows up in one of the stocks that I like to trade, for example, Tesla, right? But when you're there and you're trading, and you're in that environment, you've got Lucci there calling stuff out, you've got Norris calling things out using high frequency trader numbers, et cetera. How do you use or utilize that environment? And do you find it to be advantageous for you as a trader, or is it distracting for you as a trader?
In the beginning, it was extremely distracting and I hated it straight up. I couldn't stand it. I would gripe to Matt and the guys. I'm like, this is a freaking circus here, guys. Like we have all of this cross communication. People are trying to concentrate. We've got people filming us. It's a madhouse,
It's a zoo. Yeah.
Trying to listen to Ron. I'm trying to listen to Lucci, trying to listen to the guys at SMB, chatting with them. So it was a zoo. So it took some adaptation, but I will say, and I was commenting to Matt, we refer to him affectionately as Matty Ice here in the office. I was like, you know what? And even doing the Twitch, like now I'm doing the Twitch. So that's another layer of chaos, right?
Yeah.
But with all of this chaos, I realized two things. One, I'm really comfortable with the way that I trade. And I think that's important. And I've developed that over a period of time. So I'm not really that concerned about the call outs and stuff, because they may call out a name, but I'll look at it and then evaluate it in my way. And if it fits my system, I'll move forward with it. And vice versa. Like I call out stuff and sometimes they like it, sometimes they don't. And then they trade it how they want to. But what it really does is this, like I feel like even doing the Twitch in the morning, I feel some responsibility now and some accountability to make sure like I bring my best game in terms of the pre-market prep that I can for the team. Right. Yeah. So I think being part of the team just provides that accountability. I want to do right by them. They want to do right by the whole group too. And it just helps you focus that much more day in and day out. And sure, there's going to be a distraction here and there, but I'd say like it's net positive. It's definitely a net positive experience for sure.
Okay, that's good. I'm glad to hear that. What do you think now? Have you committed to living in San Juan for a specific period of time? Are you just down there to give it like 6 months, or what's your goal being down in the TradeSpace office?
I think in the beginning it was basically me feeling it out and just trying to see if it would work. But at this point, I mean, I would say I'm definitely committed to being down here a majority of the year, if not most of the year. I've got, my parents are 83 and 73 living in the Washington, D.C. area.
Yeah.
My real estate business, and that's actually something I was going to mention earlier. So my core business is real estate, and I started getting involved in that late 2009, 2010, when you could buy the dip back then. The whole flip or flop and all of those rehab shows, they didn't even exist back then. So I got involved in a lot of those earlier transactions where I could cash flow real estate. So that's in terms of rentals, that's my core business, and that's also what allows me to have the peace of mind to come and trade every day and quote unquote detach myself from the P&L, because I can't detach myself from the P&L of my core business, but I can for trading.
Yeah,
because I
you
have
that other business streaming cash to you.
Because I have that cash flow.
That's an ideal setup then.
Yeah,
I mean, if that really does lift a mental weight, in my opinion, off of a trader, knowing that, hey, you're striving for something, but if you get it wrong, you still have something coming your way that you're not going to go under. That's a big deal.
I think that's actually my biggest edge.
Yeah, that probably is.
That's my biggest edge right there. And that's what I tell, even the younger guys in the office. I'm like, look, get a side hustle, do something to make some extra cash, so you're not glued to your glued to that P&L every day. That's what it's all about.
Legal, right? Make sure it's legal. We don't need people going to jail for stupid shit.
Yeah, for sure. But there are a lot of smart people around here, and just a lot of people, they're having this I don't know, they're doing like a nonprofit here later on tonight, but there's just a lot of, it's almost like a think tank, right? Like after hours, this place is like a think tank. So there's a lot of good minds around. There's lots of ideas, and there's plenty of opportunity. That's the great part.
Do you see yourself moving down there? Do you want to be there as more of a full-time endeavor, or are you just kind of seeing how it goes?
I think that's what's going to end up happening.
Nice.
I think that's what's going to end up happening for sure. I mean, at least 8-9 months out of the year. Definitely. Summers are brutal.
Yeah, they get a little warm, don't they?
They get a little warm, but in general, I think so.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
And then as far as what your engagement is over at in San Juan, are you primarily just looking to trade your own thing, or is there a bigger picture? Is there some type of expansion or something like that that's coming? I'm just curious if there are other traders that are out there, especially ones who are younger and looking for something, because I think younger people who either are coming out of college or don't want to go to college, or college isn't a fit for them for whatever reason, and they find something like trading and they want to look at it as a career, is San Juan the right spot for pretty much anybody? Or what's your thought, and what's your I guess the next 12 months of how you're fitting in there, work with people like that that are coming in?
No, for sure, Ron. And you and I talked about this a little bit, I think, in the DMs. If you're a young person, San Juan is a great place to be. I first came down here for real estate reasons once they enacted the Act 2022, early 2000s, maybe like 2008. But anyways, long story short, that essentially allows you to only pay the local capital gains tax, which is minimal here, and not have to pay federal capital gains tax. So you automatically have a competitive advantage, and a huge one, right? A huge one, because capital gains is significant living in San Juan. From that time, 12 years ago to now, even where the office is, everything has just exploded in terms of the development here, right? Like if you go across the street to the grocery store, you're going to see it's an international kind of metropolitan complex now. It's not the way it used to be. There's a lot of construction everywhere, a lot of people from all over the world here now. It's kind of like the crypto capital of the United States, because everyone from the US and elsewhere trading crypto in whatever facet on both sides of the game, market makers, traders, all of the other folks involved, they've all come to Puerto Rico. Now they've pushed the real estate prices up like crazy here.
I bet they have.
But that being said, it's still a place where a lot of unique people are coming, different thinking people. It's just a special brew of intelligence and personalities that are here. So I'd say for anyone young, and again, it can be any age, but especially for someone young looking to trade, coming to TradeSpace and meeting the people here, because this place is also kind of in its infancy too, right?
Right.
So, to answer your question of how I see myself, we've gone a pretty long way in just a few months. I'm already doing the Twitch with them. Lucci's working on the prop with a small group of people here.
Yep.
Everything is really moving in the right direction. So the way I look at it is, and again, especially for young people, if you just come and start working, and as Lucci would say, and part of my language, she's like, look, start working and shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? So if you just start working and put your best foot forward, this is definitely a place where the opportunities can come to you. That's the best way for me to put it. If
you are somebody in that position and you want to go down there, what do you think somebody needs to have capital wise to make it work, or to be able to make it a year to find out if it's going to work for them?
Well, so the good part is the rent isn't bad. Like Matty Ice pays $1,000 all in for his apartment. And he lives like a starving student, he's great, but he's having a great time.
Yeah.
Because we all buy him beers and stuff. And,
we see that sometimes on Thursday mornings. We're like, Matt, what's wrong with you?
Exactly. So Matt's having a great time. Matt went home for one of the breaks to Cincinnati. It was snowing. He couldn't wait to come back here.
I bet
you know what I mean? So cost of living isn't a problem. You don't really need a car in this area at all. Uber is readily available.
Yep.
The island is only 35 miles wide by 100 miles. Sorry, 35 north to south and 100 east to west. So we're not talking about a huge place. You can get around anywhere you want to go to pretty easily. And again, lots of young people down here too. So how much if you want to trade your own capital, you probably want to come with at least 30,000 just to get past PDT.
Yeah. Give yourself a chance, right?
And give yourself a chance. But at the same time, if you've got any kind of side hustle, your cost of living is going to be really cheap. The rent at the office is cheap, but there's also other deals if you work for the prop firm here. There's a lot of other options. So you can make it work, right? Like you're going to have to work and sacrifice a little bit like anyone would, but you can really make it work.
Yeah,
for sure.
What can you talk about or not talk about when it comes to the prop firm that Lucci is trying to get going? Is he broadcasting that? I mean, I've heard a little bit about it. I just don't know what the details are.
I think we can talk about it a little bit.
Okay.
So they're using this HFT software that I don't really know anything about. All I know about is them kind of screaming numbers and stuff every day across the room, distracting me from my trading. But no, it's a good team of guys, and what they're actually doing is they've taken this HFT software. I guess it stands for high frequency, but it's basically like consolidating the tape, and Norris and Matt can kind of explain it better. But I've been through the
HFT. I'm familiar with it.
So they're now basically creating an edge out of all of this data that they get in real time. So they're creating what the edge should be, and they're trying to understand the approach that they should take individually and as a team. And that's what they've been hashing out here over the last few months.
I see.
And I've seen them improve linearly. Like they're improving dramatically from the first go around, at least in terms of what I saw.
Nice.
And in terms of participating in it, I think they're always looking for new people, always. So
there you go.
There's an opportunity there for sure.
And with a prop desk, does somebody, like we just talked about, hey, if you're young, you're looking to go somewhere or to get started, like 30K is just a number. Everybody has different numbers and thresholds, but just as like a general purpose number. But from a prop desk standpoint, do you think somebody needs to roll down there with that same type of bankroll, or are there opportunities for traders to get funded? How are they going to try and work that out?
You definitely don't need the 30K, and straight up, if you're not consistent and you're not already trading your own account wherever you're living currently, you don't need to come down here with 30,000 and then try to make that work when you haven't proven yourself prior to coming down. So if you come down here and you want to just come down to learn, I guess the point is the cost of living is low. The opportunities are there. Always looking for people on the prop desk. TradeSpace is a great place to exchange ideas, right? Meet other traders, other like-minded people. If your main goal is really just to learn and develop, that's all you really need, as long as your day-to-day is taken care of. So you don't have to have a big bankroll at all.
And I mean, I'm not trying to make it like an ad about going down there. I'm more curious than anything else. It's just, like on a day-to-day basis, what's it cost to, like to eat? I get that, rent is relatively cheap. You don't need a car. You can be in a good place. Like, grabbing food, do most people just like run to the grocery store to grab provisions, or are they, going out to eat? And what's that like? Is there a big drop off from the US, or do you think it's similar?
I would say it's similar, maybe slightly cheaper if you're just eating at the grocery store. Like, for example, these guys buy a prepared meal, like a hot food, like cafeteria style meal from the grocery store Pueblo across the street, which is next to the Planet Fitness, for like $6. Right.
Okay.
So it's like $6 for, rice, chicken,
Yeah.
some plantains. So it's pretty cheap. I mean, you can find upscale restaurants, you can find middle of the road sandwich shops. So they have it all, but it's not significantly different, cheaper or more expensive than the US. It's in line, in line.
Yep. Gotcha. Cool. Dude, I'm cracking up because that same dude hit the freaking bathroom again. Like, really?
They told him. I know. They're laughing. They're laughing over there. They're laughing about it now.
What's he doing? Does he want to be on camera that bad?
Yeah, I hope he's okay.
That's hysterical. All right. So what are your thoughts? Do you have any thoughts about long-term for the year? Are you targeting anything either sector-wise or individual company that after the last, where are we at now? 12, 13, 14, 15 months in now, in a bear market, quote unquote bear market, is there anything that you're looking for that you want to try and get into longer term, or are you even thinking about it that way?
Well, it's interesting. I'd really like to see how far we can go with the SPY. Like, we got really close to breaking that key threshold at 420. We've got another nice failed swing high on like our daily and weekly charts around 430. So if we can get up to those levels, I really want to see what happens then, right? Like what happens next, because a lot of pain is going to be felt. They've been preaching this bear market narrative. So obviously the shorts have really been suffering, lately. Like Wednesday, we had kind of a hawkish, bearish talk from our man Powell, and the market ripped up. Yesterday in the afternoon, more hawkish, more bearish kind of talk. What happened? The market kind of ripped up. They washed everybody again to the downside and then ripped it back up, finishing, high of the day to finish. So I really want to see what happens in terms of the pain, those pain levels at 420 and 430, and then kind of get a better feel of okay, well, are we going to continue at this bull run, or is this enough pain where we're going to start to capitulate a little bit? So those are the kind of the points that I'm looking at moving forward here in the short term.
Okay.
Yeah.
As far as like any kind of thought process when it comes to your trading, and I know that you're currently just looking primarily for your ideal is to go home flat at the end of each day, right? You're just looking in this environment
for now,
kind of trade.
But that could change in the next few weeks, depending on what happens. And in terms of a couple sectors, what we're looking at, we've been tossing around some ideas, with Lucci and the guys in the office. Like, we're trying to figure out, like, we have all of this chat GPT catalyst coming, this AI, artificial intelligence. Like, is this going to be the next solar? I mean, it kind of already is with AI. Is this going to be the next marijuana stock frenzy? So we want to see where all of that kind of goes. And then at the same time, we want to try to like look at other stuff that's happening and try to figure out, what's going to be that next theme, right? Like, what's going to be that next big, big chaotic sector that just goes nuts, and play it from both sides, depending on where we're at.
Gotcha. Okay. And are you, I'm just curious, are you in with the prop desk, et cetera? Are you involved with any of that? And like, is there a pool of capital? Are you putting any of your capital into that? How is that kind of being set up?
Totally independent from all of that. But I'm interested in learning what they're doing over there, and then we kind of exchange ideas. And again, it's just a free flow of ideas back and forth, because there's a discretionary component to what they're doing as well. It's not just they get a number and they go long or short. I know, Ron, the guys in the bathroom.
It's the same two dudes.
It's the same two dudes. So it's I'm telling you, I told you, it's La Vida Loca over here. It's a freaking circus.
So, all right, dude, I'm pulling for you to get your desk moved, or that the next time we get you on camera, that we get you away from the bathroom door.
I asked to be in the conference room, but Matty Ice wouldn't allow it. He told me I had to do it from my desk.
Well done, Matt. Matt gets a gold star for the fridge for that decision.
Oh man, we're gonna have fun with this later.
Well, it is a Misfit Happy Hour, so that is appropriate.
For sure.
Dude, tell him that. There you go. Hey, what's up, dude? Wave at him. All right. Well, Jay, I will continue to call you Jay instead of AJ, and let's hope to get you. The bathroom has just got me distracted, so I'm gonna wrap here, because I think it's hysterical, and I'm gonna degrade and start making all kinds of commentary that's not appropriate. So
hey, imagine how I feel. I've got to sit here every day, Ron.
But we gotta get you moved, bro.
But you know what's funny? This is actually one of the better spots in the office, and I know that doesn't make any sense to you right now, but it just is for a lot of different reasons.
I've been in that office before. I think the ideal seats are over on the other side. So
I know, but that's where all the noise is too.
But you got headphones, and noise doesn't bother me.
What
I will say is I like to put on it. I know it's distracting for some of the traders that are in TTP, but what I like to do is I like to put you guys on live, and you can't hear me, but I mean, I can hear you. And Matt doesn't put me on until after you guys are done with the Twitch stream.
Okay.
But oftentimes what I do is I heckle the living crap out of you guys, and I'm always looking for opportunities to catch you guys looking at something that I don't think is right. And like this morning, Tesla was a good example. So those of you who are in the trading the post room, it's kind of nice because we get to put you guys on live, and when we don't like what we're saying, what you're saying, I just mute you. So it kind of works. It's like having the trading desk there in the background and then shutting you guys down when I don't want to hear it.
No, hey, I think everybody's game. It's all good fun, and we all learn from all of it. So yeah, it's all well intentioned.
I agree. Well, it'd be fun if they can figure out how to get the Twitch thing going and get all of us on there at the same time, and somewhere in the future, I don't know where. I've got a busy year with a lot of the stuff that I've got going on, but somewhere it'd be fun to come down and spend a few weeks or a month with you guys down there in Puerto Rico. Like I said, I don't know when or if I could make that happen, but I think I think it would be a lot of fun, and I really think the environment that you guys have created down there is a really good environment. So I'm always interested to talk to you guys when, to get your impressions, see what's going on, see how you feel about it, see what your backgrounds are, what your trading styles are, your mental philosophies about how you approach the day. I think it just makes for a really incredible environment, not to mention the fact that there's a fantastic bathroom behind you with what looks to be like a shower too. So when you're really having a meltdown, you can get in there and just wash it all off at the end of the day. Yeah. Do anybody take advantage of the shower?
I do take advantage of it. When I go to the gym, I do shower here from time to time. Not that one. There's another shower, but
there's another shower. That one seems a little public. Does that one have a locking door or not?
There's like a 3 millimeter latch, so it gets a little tenuous from time to time. But
that's too funny.
But look, Ron, you got to make it happen. We'd love to have you down here.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun.
And I'll probably be in the West Coast in California sometime in April. So I'll hit you up. Maybe we can.
Oh yeah, you got to hit me up. Where are you going to be? Where are you going to be?
Well, so I'm going to be going to Lake Tahoe in Vegas, but then I'm probably going to make a stop in California. Probably. So I've got cousins who live like in Salinas, which is halfway between LA and San Francisco, more or less. Salinas.
Yeah.
So they live there. I'm going to visit them. So maybe we can work something out.
Yeah, that would be awesome. And I was just up in Tahoe this weekend, and they had, I mean, the snow up there is incredible. And we just had a nice weekend of powder. So that's why I
bet.
was off the desk Monday and Tuesday, because life is too short to miss powder days.
100%. 100%.
All right, Jay. Well, thank you so much for jumping on here and being candid and sharing your bathroom with all of us today. And we'll look to talk to you again soon, man.
I appreciate it, buddy. Thanks
All
so
right,
much.
Jay. And catch Jay on Twitch every day, every morning, guys. All right. Have a great one. We'll see you guys later.
Bye, guys.